Izzy, I'll come over to you. We can watch anime. You can put some testosterone on my ass. I'll do it with you. Let's go. I can take that ass. I love gay men, dude. Gay men are awesome.
Complicated fighters in the UFC. When you're that unique, there are bound to be some wild facts about you that no one's aware of. So here are 10 things you probably didn't know about Sean Strickland. Starting off, Strickland's life is like something straight out of the Joker, but without the makeup and madness. It all starts in Cornea, California, and trust me, it's a roller coaster ride from there.
Every fight, every time I step in this cage, I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna make this my home. Congratulations.
Strickland's childhood was terrible, and terrible doesn't even cover it all.
Me in like 3rd grade, just ditching school, being a fucking idiot, you know, staying home to watch a porn box.
He grew up in a house of horrors thanks to his dad.
Wife left you, you're unemployed, you're a fucking drug addict, your life sucks, like you should fucking do it. I took the gun, put it to his head, put his hand on it, said, do it. Didn't fucking do it. Died at 50 something of cancer and miserable. Miserable. And now you could all look at that and be like, oh, Sean, you advocated for. Look, I didn't advocate for.
His dad was like an alcoholic tornado, wrecking everything in sight, and peace was a distant dream for Strickland as he faced his old man's drunken wrath day in and day out. But it wasn't just mental turmoil, it got physical too. One day, young Strickland couldn't take it anymore. He channeled his Undertaker and went all Jimi Hendrix on his dad with a guitar, trying to protect his mom. She always ended up on the wrong side of their father's anger.
Because I thought, I mean, we're talking about like, when I shouldn't have in like elementary school, because I thought my dad was kill my mom. So every night, dude, I would go to bed thinking like, oh shit, my mom's gonna die tonight, you know?
So Strickland made the brave move to call the cops, and his dad took a brief vacation to the local jail, but his mom bailed him out the very next day. This scenario played out until Strickland hit the age of 18 and had another explosive showdown with his dad. More police involvement, but no charges struck. After that, Strickland and his mom finally made their great escape from his dad's house.
You guys gotta meet each other. You know Sean Strickland?
Sean Strickland? I don't think so, no. Is that the one you're saying is my son?
In an interview with Brenda Schaub, Strickland spilled the beans about his turbulent relationship with his father. He didn't hold anything back, saying,
my father, abusive alcoholic, drank, you know, got in pills later on. Everything about him I hated. Yes. Everything about him I hated.
Number 2, despite the rocky relationship with his father, his mom was one of the bright spots in his life. But Strickland still needed a father figure, given the whole messy situation with his dad. So, who did he turn to? His grandfather. But that would be one heck of a mistake.
You know, I had this piece of shit grandfather. He was super racist, big white man.
Strickland got close to his grandpa, who had some seriously messed up views. Yep, his granddad was on a whole different level of problem, and Strickland, being impressionable and all, bought into his grandfather's twisted ideology. It didn't help that he watched American History X, a movie that glorified all these terrible beliefs. He even said, I loved the life they lived, just dirty white trash to have respect, you know? When I was a kid, that was somebody I would hero worship, that ideology. As you would imagine, Strickland didn't just adopt these beliefs, he actually took them to the streets, and not in a good way. He did some awful stuff.
Angry. Like, I was so angry. It's funny, I actually went through like this weird, like, neo-Nazi white supremacist phase when I was younger. I got kicked out of school for like hate crime, like all this crazy shit, but I was just like, I was so angry, and I had a lot of fucked up influences in my life that it felt so good to fucking hate something, you know? Like, I would walk down the street, you know, just with a knife or like a rock, hoping to kill somebody.
Whoa. But the crazy part is that Strickland, while spending time in the gym with people he thought he hated, started to see the light, realizing that the world wasn't as black and white as he'd once thought. Number 3. With all that prior being said, when you've had an abusive upbringing like Strickland, life is like one rocky road after another. And he held this whole pattern going on where he'd get kicked out of every school he set foot in.
Anyways, I go to 7th grade and I get kicked out of school for like a hate crime. So what they do is
Did you really do it or not?
I mean, I probably just called somebody a or dropped the N-bomb. Like, it was probably, you know, it was like, but it's also a different time, bro. It's different fucking time. Like, racism was way more common back in like, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It was like carrying this baggage from his toxic upbringing, and it weighed him down big time. Growing up, Strickland was an angry teenager, and who could blame him? The kind of stuff he went through would make anyone lose their cool. He kept switching schools like he was changing outfits, and trouble just seemed to follow him around like a shadow. It got so bad that a teacher even said to him he was the reason they built prisons.
Second grade. And I kept falling asleep at my desk, and my teacher took my desk away from me, and she made me like stand up. And so I'm like, fuck you, being this little kid, I just went and fell asleep on the ground. And mind you, like, the school system's like, oh, Sean, like, he's just a bad kid. They don't realize I'm up till 3 o'clock in the morning. Like,
yep, it was that wild and uncontrollable, and things escalated to a point where Strickland crossed a line that led to his expulsion from school in the 9th grade. He had perpetrated a hate crime, and it was the turning point in his life. That was when his mother made a decision that would change the course of his journey forever. Number 4, here's where things got really interesting. Strickland in his younger days had a thing for violent fantasies.
Why don't you use soap on your feet?
It's bad.
Soap is bad?
No, you need soap for your fucking balls, your nutsack, and your armpits. Other than that, don't use shit.
I'm talking about wanting to beat someone up so bad that he couldn't even stick around in a school without getting the boot.
This is my first press conference. You guys are a bunch of vicious bastards. Man, here's the way you guys talk. I want to go down there and punch all you in the face. Jesus Christ, you guys are mean.
It was like he had this dark cloud following him everywhere. But then, something incredible happened, and it all started with his mom. She pulled a game-changer move. She took Strickland into an MMA gym. You know, the place where you can punch and kick stuff legally. This was a turning point, the beginning of a slow but powerful transformation in Strickland's life. Number 5, Strickland might have found an outlet for his rage in the MMA world. But let's just say, his troublemaking days were far from over. Trouble had a knack for finding him. He had had quite a few run-ins with the law. You could say he had a talent for getting into hot water. Now, his official record might show his pro MMA career, but in reality, he'd been throwing down in unofficial underground fights for years. These weren't your regular sanctioned bouts, oh no.
That's all fighting is. It's just one big therapy session for me. I don't even look at it like a job, you know? People think, oh yeah, what do you think about fighting? Like, to me, it's mental health.
They were called smokers, and they were as illegal and unsanctioned as it gets. We're talking about underground fight clubs where rules were more like suggestions. And he was no stranger to scuffles too, whether it was at parties or pretty much anywhere he could stir up trouble.
Watch this.
Are you kidding me?
He was like a magnet for chaos. In fact, he ended up spending a little vacation in jail time. He even managed to collect a handful of minor felonies along the way.
You're going to jail for like a minimum of 3 years. And I was like 18, 19. I was like, who am I going to be after I come in jail? I'll probably come out like a white supremacist. I don't know if you guys ever been to jail. Who's been to jail? This guy's, hey, Boba Fett. He's been to jail. Fucking.
Number 6, with that being said, it was actually his troublemaking days that paved the way for his professional MMA career. Yeah, it was during his stint in jail that a light bulb went off in his head. A different career path suddenly seemed way more appealing than his wild past.
To the fans, to the UFC, you guys have gave me purpose, and I appreciate that.
That's when he knew that MMA wasn't just a hobby. It was a true calling for him, his real job.
What do we do? What is my job? What is my job? What do? I take my clothes off.
Yeah.
Take my clothes off.
Half naked as well.
Half naked. And do you see my face right now? You see this face? This is just training. And I shorten my life and I beat the living out of myself for the enjoyment of people.
Before it took a serious turn. At the tender age of 17, he went pro, making his professional debut in 2008 for the King of the Cage promotion. Strickland compiled an undefeated record of 9-0. Then came the moment that set him on a path to greatness. In 2012, he faced off against Josh Bryant in a fight for the King of the Cage middleweight championship. It was a nail-biter, but Strickland clinched the win with a split decision. That victory marked the beginning of something big as he went on to successfully defend his title 3 times. But something even more significant was waiting in the wings for him. At number 7, the UFC, the big leagues of MMA, came calling and Strickland barely had a week's notice for his UFC debut. But that didn't faze him one bit. Strickland has always been a fighter, ready for any challenge, and that goes way back to his childhood. His debut at UFC 171 saw him squaring off against the formidable Bubba McDaniel, but Strickland wasn't there to play around. He locked in and rear naked choked submission in his first round, and he marked his arrival on the scene with a win. The momentum didn't stop there. Strickland went on to win his next fight against Luke Bartna via a split decision, but the world of UFC isn't all sunshine and rainbows. Strickland had his first loss in the UFC in 2015 against Santiago Ponzinibbio in a welterweight bout, losing by unanimous decision. Winning and losing, it's all part of the game, and Strickland rode the wave for 3 more years. And just when you thought he had it all figured out, a tragic incident almost took everything away from him. Number 8, December 2018. After finishing up a training session at King's MMA in Anaheim, California, he hopped on his motorcycle to head home. But here's where things took a terrifying turn. In the blink of an eye, he went from cruising down the road to waking up in a hospital bed with no memory of what happened in between. When he woke up, he had been unconscious for a whopping 3 hours, and they were rushing him into surgery.
It's gonna be a long road back, but I love fighting, you know, so I'll get back on the ball and make it happen. All right.
Turns out a van had casually pulled out in front of him, not even noticing Strickland's bike, and the result was a collision that shredded Strickland's leg.
Still missing my quadricep.
What's wrong with your quadricep? You don't have a quad?
Yeah, no, there's a little indent right there. See how it like dips in?
It was a miracle that he had even survived. The crash was brutal, and it took him out of action for 2 long years. But you can't keep a fighter down for too long, and Strickland made an incredible comeback, and it was one for the books. His first fight in 2 years was against Jack Marshman, who'd stepped in for Wellington Turman.
Come on, Jack! Come on, Jack! Strickland wants to fight.
Strickland didn't just make a return. He made a statement by winning that fight via unanimous decision. But he didn't stop there. Strickland went on to secure 2 more victories, and it was certain that he was back, stronger than ever. Number 9, Strickland didn't just make a physical comeback. He had made one with a whole new attitude. No filter, no limits. It was like he took the concept of speak your mind to a whole new level, and some might say it became a part of his fighter persona. But boy has it stirred the pot. His provocative statements raised eyebrows and sparked both outrage and concern. You name it, he said it. From wanting to punch Dana White in the face to not caring about kids getting bullied, he didn't hold back. He even used some pretty offensive language like calling MMA fighters dumb monkeys. It got so heated that he got banned from press conferences for a while. It's reached a point where it's nearly impossible to predict what'll come out of Strickland's mouth. You can bet your bottom dollar though that it'll be controversial or offensive in some way.
If females MMA were to separate from male MMA, no one's gonna watch this shit. No one wants to watch this shit.
Some call it madness, while others might label it as passion. Love him or hate him, the fight game needs fighters like him to keep things interesting. That said, here's where the story goes from wild to downright unbelievable. Sean Strickland's journey in the UFC is a testament to the fact that in this sport, anything can happen, and leading up to UFC 293 in 2023, Strickland has just 2-2 in his last 4 fights. He wasn't even supposed to be in the main event, but like his UFC debut, he was ready to answer the call when Dricus du Plessis had to pull out due to injury. The opponent this time, none other than Stylebender himself, Israel Adesanya, in a middleweight title fight. Even Strickland acknowledged that he was the underdog against Adesanya, who was expected to breeze through this fight. But boy did Adesanya get a wake-up call in the first round when Strickland dropped him with a clean right hand. Strickland went all in looking for the finish, but Adesanya somehow weathered the storm. The knockout blow remained elusive, but Strickland's relentless pressure carried the day. He ultimately won by unanimous decision and snagged the middleweight title. It was one of the most epic upsets in UFC history, and what's next for Strickland? Well, you can bet the world will be watching closely. And there you have it, 10 crazy facts about Sean Strickland. Let me know which one surprised you the most, and as usual, please drop a like on the video and smash that subscribe button.
Tomorrow night, I'm gonna smash your boy.